What's up everybody, Matt here again from East Coast Sabers, and I want to talk to you for just a couple minutes about the Solos Hold blade holder for vintages, replicas, such as the TGS replica coming out, and I believe it also fits the Parks V1 Graflex, but for sure the TGS and the and an actual vintage. If you have the Solos Hold blade holder, then you know it is a two-piece design that is a 7/8 inch blade, so you get the accurate deep pins, I should say pin sockets, and it allows for a shine-through glass eye if you were doing A New Hope or The Force Awakens or really any version you want to. The only real problem at the moment with this blade holder is that it is not really set up for Empire Strikes Back variant, which has the second red button. Because those of you that may know, the glass eye, here's the housing for the glass eye on a vintage, acts as the retainer that keeps both halves of the blade holder connected. It also acts as the blade retention screw. So here you can see, here's a replica red button from TGS, and here's the glass eye. As you can see, where the threads end, you have this extra material that protrudes, excuse me, into the blade socket, whereas the replica or vintage red button does not. So this can cause a problem because it allows the two halves of the blade holder to separate, and it can kind of move around in there, and also you don't have any way to retain your blade plug. So if you've gone ahead and installed this and you've disassembled your vintage or replica, and you have your blade plug created, which as you can see, or not see because the lighting is terrible, it retains all of the original vintage bulb contact pieces, the spring, the contact, and everything. You just put it into a piece of polycarbonate tubing, 7/8 inch blade material basically. Trim it to the proper length. You may need to trim the diameter just a bit, sand it a little bit to get it to fit in nice and easy, because with the Graflex it's a pain if it's too snug to try and get it out. You need like a pair of pliers. So I always take mine down just smaller so it really slides in and out really easy. But as you can see, I have the vintage red button on top, and I also have a second vintage red button on the bottom. As you can see, it still has the click feature, not really a click feature, but it's a press feature, which I really like about the vintage. But as you can see, the blade plug slides right out. There's nothing retaining it in the holder. So that being said, I went ahead and designed something myself. It's just a very, very, very simple piece. I started out with this. It's just a piece of aluminum that I machined down on my lathe that fits inside of the red button. Now as you can see here, let's try and zoom in. As you can see, the contact for the red button where it springs down, there is a diameter around the outside of it before you actually hit the switch housing itself. So what I did is I designed a piece that fits around that contact, yet inside of that inner diameter of the housing, and it is a bit of a press fit because I didn't want it just coming out. But if I snap it in, make sure it's properly seated, like I said, it is kind of a tight fit, but that seems to be pretty good. And I can still press the button because the contact inside is still able to move, but it now protrudes enough to be able to thread in and engage the blade. And now my blade plug is properly secured, and my two halves of the blade holder are properly secured, and I still retain the tactile feel of the vintage red button, which I really like. If I see a button, even if it doesn't have a actual electronic function. I want to be able to click it. It just adds, I don't know, it's just a feature that I like. So I didn't want to just add a piece of solid material to it because I didn't really like that. But the problem may persist with the blade holder separation for some people. I only have this one, I only have one vintage to go off of, so I can't be sure. But if we open this up so that I can get access to the blade holder, as you can see, without the blade plug in there, I'm sorry, with the, let me take that out. Without the switch and the retainer in there, you can see if I just gently pull on the chassis, you can see the two halves of the blade holder do separate, and it doesn't come all the way out due to the pins, but you don't want to bend pins, you don't want to damage anything, you certainly don't want that sliding around. But with this installed, the threads protrude just far enough to really stop this from moving. It moves a little bit, but certainly not back and forth like it was. But I don't know, only having this one on hand, I don't know if that's the same for every vintage or not. So whether or not there is a discrepancy between vintages, and maybe if you had something like this on another one, then you threaded it in, who knows, maybe you could still get this play, because with just the red button, maybe the threads aren't enough to lock it down. So I went a next step further, and I designed something in 3D and just printed it out quick, and it is this little adapter, which has the same diameter as my first one that I made out of metal, and it has the same function where it just slips down inside, still allows the button to be tactile, but it now protrudes even further and has a larger diameter so that it can slide right inside, still allows it to thread in. And if you can look down in there, let me get a little light. If you look down right inside, you can see that it just barely protrudes into the blade holder itself. It's kind of difficult to see, I apologize. But if we just loosen this, we don't have to remove it, just loosen it, drop in the blade plug, it's now sitting in there like it should be, tighten this down, and it's not going anywhere. So with this, since you don't actually have to remove this all the way, and you should hopefully never have to take out your the adapter, you can either leave it as is, because I designed it to be kind of, it's a very slight interference fit. It's not really a press fit, but as you can see, it does take a little bit of force. It does kind of snap in a little bit. The tolerances are kind of tight. It spins once in there, but it does take a little bit of force to get it out. Now I designed this, and I printed it, I should say. I printed this in PLA with my home 3D printer. Let me see if I can get this to focus. But I'm thinking about uploading it to either Thingiverse, so you can, those of you with 3D printers can print it yourself. And I may also create a Shapeways store with a couple little Graflex odds and ends that I've been working on. So I may upload it to there as well, or those of you that have been wanting to do something like this, you can just kind of create your own. Now that you know that it is easily more than possible. It's nothing difficult or complicated to engineer. It just pops right in. Whoops, wrong half. It threads right in and keeps your blade plug nice and secure. And you can tell that my blade plug would be coming out because it takes absolutely zero force, and I don't even have to open the bunny ears to get mine to come out. It's that I lathe this down, so it just really just slides right in and out. So with this adapter, you now have proper blade holder and blade retention with a second vintage red button. For those of you that don't have access to a second vintage red button, or you don't feel like getting a replica red button, I have suggested to TGS, or the Graflex shop, for those of you that don't know, about creating a vintage style red button with the large diameter threads that thread into the shroud, but that has a smooth stud for just blade retention. Of course, that wouldn't really work with securing the two halves of the chassis, so that's why I designed this one. So hopefully, if you are in need of something like this, hopefully this helps. Hopefully you have access to either design something or make something yourself, or like I said, it will be I will upload it to Thingiverse so you can print it yourself, and I will probably be creating my own small store on Shapeways, and I will upload it and make it available there. So if you are buying a chassis or anything like that, or you just want to buy this individually, you can go ahead and do that, and you can now have your second red button, which works awesome. And again, my favorite feature, retains the button click. So thank you all for watching. I hope this was helpful. I hope it was a little bit informative, and I will see you guys next time. Thank you for watching.